Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Owner of Kings. Um, I've been doing some thinking, so I want to let you kind of know where my thoughts are with this. I might need to move the camera. Okay, so my thoughts are: I've been thinking about kings and priests, and I know some people call them Melchizedek, but it's actually Melchizedek. The Melchizedek was a different priest. He was in the Bible in Genesis 14:15. It actually says he was the king and the priest, and we are called to be both kings and priests. So my thinking, because Melchizedek. Sorry, I'll learn how to say it the correct way. Melchizedek was mentioned in Genesis 14:18. He was mentioned in Hebrews 7:1. And then I just started looking up other scriptures. Revelation 1:6, he has made us kings and priests. Revelation 5:10, and has made unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. The Greek word for kings is Genesis 9:35, which leader of the people, prince, commander, lord of the land. But then there's also the kings of the Greek priest, and that's 2409, one who sacrifices or is busy with sacred rites, those purified by the blood of Christ and brought into intimacy with God. And they devote their entire life alone to Christ. So my thoughts were, it's coming along from those lines because, it says that he has made us kings and priests, and he has made us kings and priests. And then my thoughts that I have been pondering for the past few weeks is, if we're not a priest to God, will we be a king? So it kind of brings about where I'm thinking and going with today's thought process. This is going to come out of Exodus 34, and I'm grabbing the iPad. I know. Shh. I have doggies who are not happy because they're in a playpen together, in a baby playpen, and they're kind of pouting. So, yeah. All right, I'm looking for the word. It's Exodus. I know, kitty. Exodus 34. Okay, so Exodus 34. So what's going on here in Exodus 30, and you could read this in the King James. So what's going on is God is actually telling about atonement and, how the priests are going to take care of themselves, ointments and stuff like that. And there was a certain ointment. It was actually the kingly anointing, whose recipe is unknown. Still to this day, the recipe is not known. And so having that in mind, that we know what the components are, but we don't know what the measurements are. But then if you read in Exodus 30, it starts talking about how, you have your burnt offering altar. You have the laver, which they had to wash their hands and to clean themselves and purify themselves. But then there was the actual altar of incense. Now, the altar of incense, and let me go to, here we go. Okay, the altar of incense looked a lot like this picture, and I will present that up for you. So that's the picture that the altar of incense looked like. It was just for burning incense. It wasn't meant for burnt sacrifice. If you read on let's go back to the beginning of it, in Exodus 31-10, you shall make an altar to burn incense on, and you shall make it of acacia wood. A cubit shall be its length. So it was a cubit this way, and it was a cubit this way. So this there was a cubit, there was a cubit, and it was 2 cubits high. And then its horn shall be made of one piece with it. So the horn itself, these are not 4 separate pieces. This crown is made from one solid piece of wood. Okay. And 2 cubits should be the length. Its horn should be one piece with it, and you shall overlay its top, its sides all around it, and its horns with pure gold. And you shall make it for a molding of gold all around. Then they had the 2 rings on each side for it to carry it, so nobody actually touched the altar of incense because it was holy. We scroll on down, and it says, Aaron shall burn it on sweet incense every morning. When he tends the lamps, he shall burn incense on it. Now, the incense, they were commanded, was to never go out. The fire of the altar was to never burn out. It was to always be lit and always to be burning incense. The incense was supposed to happen day and night, night and day, from morning to dawn, or from dawn to dusk and dusk to dawn. I mean, they always were supposed to have it. Now, here were the 3 things. This is where I'm going. So, and the Lord. It's always good to write the word out. Actually, the Bible says to write it out. And the Lord said to Moses, take sweet spices, don't know the pronunciation of these words, but we will probably go into the Blue Letter Bible in just a minute and let it pronounce. So here are the 3 spices and a kitty. So let me make sure I'm not writing this down. And the Lord said to Moses, take sweet spices, named the 3 with and in between. And I have a comma there that should not be there. Ugh. And pure frankincense with these sweet spices, semicolon. There shall be a kitty cat. There shall be equal amounts of each. Okay. Now, this is the actual scripture that I'm after. Okay. So that it says in the King James, they shall be of like weight. So same thing. They shall be equal amounts of each. So then it went on and it said, you shall make of these an incense, a compound according to the art of the perfumer, salted, pure, and holy. And you shall beat some of it very fine and put some of it before the testimony, the tabernacle, the meeting, where I will meet you. It shall be most holy to you. But as for the incense which you shall make, you shall not make it for yourself according to its composition. It shall be to you holy for the Lord. Okay, whoever makes anything like it or to smell of it, he shall be cut off from his people. So that makes me curious. And it just, so what are these 3 things, you know? And you know me, here we go, colored pens. So this particular one, it will be blue. Okay, so this is a sweet smelling spice. This is a powder from the hardened crops of the fragrant resin found in the bark of the myrrh bush. And the word means a drop. Okay, let's go to the Hebrew. Let's go to the Hebrew and look this up. So let's go references, Blue Letter Bible. And let's go into Old Testament, Exodus 30, 34. So let's look up what this is. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up, pull up the concordance. Okay, and the Lord said unto Moses, take unto thee sweet spices. Let's go ahead and put these up here and leave 2 spaces. New color. Let's go green. For this spice. Because we're going to look up what's important about these spices. We cannot replicate it. We're not going to replicate it. We're not going to try to replicate it. God said, don't replicate it. So I say, okay. And so we're not going to replicate it. However, we can look and see what was so important about it. And let's leave also 3 spaces. Okay, so, and looking at this, let me grab my, trying to keep the colors defined. I also want to, and I dropped my lid. I also want to look up some other things. I find this very fascinating. Things like this, like we can't recreate it. God said not to, so we're not going to. I'm not even going to try to. So we can't recreate it. God also said, take unto thee sweet spices. So leaves 3 spaces. Unto thee sweet spices. We can't make it. We can't replicate it. So take sweet spices. But what does this mean spiritually? And then frankincense. Okay, so now we've got some investigation to do. All right, so let's look up first the sweet spices, and it's Hebrews 5:5-6-1. Okay, and you cannot see this, so I will move some ink pens here, and I will move my coffee as I take a drink. Works for me. So moving my pens and moving the iPad. Okay, coffee back down. All right, so let's look at this. Unto the sweet spices. So if I look this up into the actual Hebrew, it's a sweet smelling aroma. Okay. A sweet smelling aroma. Okay, there we go. Let's look up our actual first word. So let's go back to the Blue Letter Bible, which is a great tool. We're going to go back into the 34. Unto sweet. Okay, so let's look up the first spice, and it is Hebrews. What color did I use? Because that's, you know me, that's important. Okay, Hebrews 5:1-9-8. Okay, the word is?
Strong's H, 5198. Nataf.
Nataf. Okay, so we look up what this is, Nataf, because I definitely can't pronounce it in the English. So, all right, so it's a drop. specifically an aromatic gum drop. So let's look up 5197. And we look up 5197. It means to, I like this. Look at this. Okay, 5197. We're in Hebrews 5197. It literally means to ooze, to distill gradually, by implication, to fall in drops, to speak by inspiration, a dripping, or prophesying. So if this is, it means to ooze or to drip, to distill gradually, constantly. So if I write this down, moving the pens back and moving to where I could actually write this down. So if I look up the word, it means from 5198, let's go back to the original 5198. See if I can go to 5198. It's literally an aromatic gum resin of a shrub used in incense. So it is drops of a continual dripping of a kind of odoriferous gum, so called from its dropping, flowing forth spontaneously. So, okay, so we're looking at a continual and spontaneous dripping, oozing, for lack of a better term, but that's the term that was used. So this literally is, I'm dropping everything today. Okay, picking up another one, sorry. All right, so this literally is from a tree, right? From a plant, from myrrh. And it's the sap that comes out of it that's continually dripping. Okay, interesting. Continual, spontaneous dripping. All right. Okay, let's go back and let's look up the next word. Taking the Hebrew again, going back into Strong's again, and finding the word. This is Hebrews 7827. Okay, go to the word.
Strong's H 7827. Shehaleth. Shehaleth.
Shehaleth. Okay. So Shehaleth is apparently from the same as, and the cats are into the bathroom. A fierce lion. From an unused root, probably meaning to roar. A lion, a fierce lion. Fierce lion. A lion. Huh. So let's go back to, what was it, 7827. An ingredient used in holy incense, apparently from the same as from a lion, through some obscure idea, perhaps that peeling off sound, perhaps that of peeling off by concussion of sound. So this is actually a covering of the shell that was found from a mussel, and I would say this was MUSSEL, not MUSCLE, found in the lakes of India, which is, definitely not something we can find now, and not only to find out what this creature actually is, but to also take its shells and reproduce this incense. However, it was definitely used. It was something that was around a lot with them. Sorry, trying to get the cat down. I've lost my train of thought. Sorry. Okay, so let's go back into this word. Through some obscure idea, perhaps that of peeling off by concussion of sound. And if we go look up meaning to roar, fierce lion. So, concussion of sound. fierce as a lion. Lion's roar. Okay, so let's go to the next word. And the next word, let's go back to the Hebrew. And let's pull this back up again. If somebody knows a quicker way to go through this than to just click the way that I click, that would be great to know. Okay, so let's look up this word. It's Hebrews 2464. Okay, a kind of gum or kind of resin or gum, an ingredient of the holy incense. There were three, if you remember correctly, along with frankincense. So the pronunciation of the word.
Strong's H 2464. Chelbena.
I can't pronounce that.
Chelbena.
I'm not even going to act like I could pronounce that. Okay, so this was an odorous, fatty gum, and it came from this word, Hebrews 24:59. The fat of humans, fat of beasts, the choicest, best part in abundance. Wow. In abundance. So this is the best choice part in abundance finest marrow. Wow. I would have never guessed. Okay, so this came from the original word 2464. And we could look till we get to 2464. Okay. Nope. I'm on 2463. All right, so this was another type of tree sap or bush sap. So we have, this was a continual dripping sap. This was the shell of a specific sea creature in that region, which indicates a lion's roar. And then this one is, if it was in abundance and finest marrow, then obviously it was quite around. Okay, so this was the produce of this particular tree growing in Syria and Arabia. Interesting. Okay, and then frankincense. So let's look up frankincense. I know a lot of people talk about it and everybody's like, oh yeah, I know what frankincense is. Okay. Frankincense, from my understanding, literally means pure incense. So let's look up frankincense. This was 3:8 Hebrews 3828.
Strong's H 3828. Levona.
Okay.
Second entry. Levona.
Okay, so this was frankincense. It was a white resin burned as fragrant incense, ceremonially, personally used in compounding the holy incense. Okay. So called from the white color of the purest in frankincense. Okay, so in order for frankincense to be pure, it had to burn white, correct? So I'm going to put the iPad over there. All right, so frankincense was ceremonially, personally, white, as in pure, and it was mixed with the three spices. that what you're reading? So the Lord said, take the 3 spices. Take these 3 spices. This one, so this spice, the one that was the continual dripping, oozing, the lion's roar, and the abundance fatty part. And you're going to mix them together, and then you're going to add in pure frankincense with these 3 spices. And the 3, so these 3 shall be of equal. I try to not get emotional when I do these things. I really do. I try to not get emotional. But let's think about this. So the Lord said to Moses, I want you to take 3 instances. People of the world, we cannot reproduce this. We're not even supposed to try to reproduce this. God said, don't. Spiritually, we can. We can have a continual, fierce, like a lion, in abundance, sweet-smelling aroma with pure motives. I mean, let me drink my coffee. We can't go into the Holy Land. However, our worship can be continual and spontaneous. It can be fierce. Okay. So lions, when they roar, do not always roar from a state of anger or hunting. Sometimes they just call out their own territory. This is my domain. This is my place. A lot of interesting things about lions, and a lot of interesting parallels between us spiritually and lions. So I think that this fierceness is just kind of like always being aware, always protected, always. So it's a concussion of sound, like a lion's roar. I mean, if you ever hear a lion's roar, it's pretty eye-opening. So a continual, spontaneous, fierce roar or cry in abundance, with purity, with a pure motive or a pure heart. So how should our incense be to God day and night? What are we putting on the altar? What are we giving to God? What are we giving to Him? I mean, this should be day and night, night and day. This should be a continual thing. We can't do this while we sleep, but we can do it before we go to bed. So our worship should be a continual and spontaneous, fierce cry in abundance from a pure heart. And that, my dear people, my friends, and family, is an interesting it's just to peel away. It's like we're just peeling away at the layers of what God is saying to His people. We're not going to replicate these spices. We can't. I don't know anybody who knows what even that shell is in India, I think is where it's at. But, we're not going to get the shells. However, we can continually, spontaneously, at any moment, fiercely protect, cry, prowl, check and make sure that everything's good spiritually, in abundance, with pure motive or pure heart. All right, and there you have it. So enjoy your weekend. I hope you enjoy your day. I hope that the work day is wonderful for you, and I shall see you the next time on the Honor of Kings.